Welcome back to the Means Report, reviewing the year that was 2011, and of course that's the year that we marked the 10-year anniversary of 9/11.
At 8:46 in the morning, American Airlines Flight 11 was flown into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. At first, many believed the event to be an accident, simple pilot error. The news of the crash preempted many regular programs, but our news team remembers that day all too well.
Yeah, the weird thing about the memories of that day are that you can remember exactly where you were, as so many people can, what you were doing, maybe not what you were wearing, but specific details of that day. And so in that sense, it does seem like it just happened.
I remember it as if it were yesterday. I remember every detail about it.
I was busy trying to help produce the noon news at that time. At the same time, my thoughts were with my husband, who was flying to Virginia on that day. He had actually taken off from the Atlanta airport about 8:15 that morning. So my heart was pounding as I tried to convince myself that he was not on board one of those planes, and thanks be to God, he was not, and he was grounded, as all airlines were that morning. He landed in Raleigh, and after that I could really concentrate on getting together the news. But it was such a tragic day. Our hearts were broken as we saw those pictures come out of New York and out of Washington, D.C. at the Pentagon. I don't think any of us will ever forget just how compelling the video was that we were seeing and the live pictures that we were seeing from ABC. And I know that our hearts were with all of the victims.
This is where our anchors sit during our normal newscast. The way the anchors and the reporters decided to get through the day was to focus on the community and what Augusta can do to help. But as you can imagine, emotions were still pretty high.
When I got to the 13th Street light, just before I was turning down to come to the station, I heard Diane Sawyer say, "Oh my God." And then you heard Charlie Gibson, oh Lord, you know, and it was clear that something terrible had happened, and they said a second plane has just hit. And it was in that instant you realized that it wasn't an accident, it was deliberate. And I raced into the station, and I ran into the studio, and a couple of people were looking at monitors there, and I came up here into the newsroom, and oh my gosh, for an hour, it was like, 30 people were just looking at our monitors up here in the newsroom. We could not believe what we were watching. And we were just frozen. We just, we've never lived through anything like this. And after about 45 minutes, Mary Morrison's husband was on a flight. We were all worried to death about him. And there were several of us that were just sort of clustered together. And all of a sudden, this voice said, "We have to pray."
I did have a friend who flew for Delta at the time, and he flew out of Boston that morning. In fact, his was just a flight or two before some of those ill-fated flights. And he remembers the perfect flying conditions, the blue skies, flying past the Twin Towers, and his Boston to New York flight was uneventful. And I remember his story about how he felt when he realized what had happened right after him.
It's still hard to see the images of those Twin Towers coming down and the people running for their lives. And I know I'll never forget, church services were springing up across the area, and that evening my family and I went to a local church, our local church, and offered our prayers to the families of the victims.
We all remember 9/11, and we all remember the year that was 2011. It's been a busy year. I hope that 2012 is good for you and your families, with health and prosperity. For all the members of the Means Report family, Marlena, Levi, and yours truly, Brad Means, thank you for watching. Happy New Year.